Welcome to Lesson 2, Set up a jQuery mobile project in Dreamweaver CC. My name's Stephen Northcott and I'll be taking you through this. If you want an app, you need to develop a lot of background software to make it work. You could develop this software on your own, or you could use pre-made software. jQuery Mobile is one of the easiest to work with, and it enables us to start a working mobile app very quickly and very easily. In this lesson, we will be showing you how to set up just the basic structure of these apps. This is what your app will look like at the end of this lesson. As you can see, it doesn't look pretty, but it's got the basic structure that we need for this app as we move forward through the lessons. In later lessons, we'll make this app look like the app that we previously developed in Fireworks. As you can see, it works pretty well responsively. jQuery Mobile is designed to handle responsive web design very well. The objectives for this lesson are to show you how to do the following. Set up a jQuery mobile project in Dreamweaver CC. Then we will make sure that your project is using the latest jQuery mobile. And make sure that your project is using the latest jQuery. We'll also show you how to set up a Config.xml file, which we need for when we go to PhoneGap build. Unfortunately, the latest versions of Dreamweaver CC has actually removed the ability to automatically set up a jQuery mobile app from a template. So for the purposes of this project, we are going to do this setup manually. In the past, you should have created projects in Dreamweaver for websites. In this lesson, we'll build on this by showing you how to create a new project specifically for jQuery Mobile. And it isn't that much different from a normal website. We will also then go on to make sure that all your files in your project are up to date before you begin your actual work. As you saw before, at the end of this lesson, the app that we're going to build will look nothing like the app that we are eventually going to create. This will start to come together as we go through the lessons that follow this one. This would be the starting point that you would have for any jQuery mobile app that you develop in the future. All functionality, content and styling will be added on a case-by-case value from the finished product of this lesson. Although to ensure your apps all use the most current software, you'll need to repeat this process before you begin developing any apps in the future. The first thing we need to do is unzip the provided project files to where we're going to be working. I'm going to be working on the desktop, probably a good place for everyone else to be working too. So copy the zip file across to your desktop, right click on the zip file and extract here. And now we have the start point, all the starting files that we need for this project. Recommend changing the name of the folder to something that has something to do with the project that you're working on. Get into the habit of doing this now. We now need to go into Dreamweaver CC so that we can link Dreamweaver to the folder that we just created. Now that we're in Dreamweaver, we need to go to Site, New Site, and we need to give it a name that means something to the project. So in the dialog box, we need to put our site name there, and we need to search for where we set up our project just before, which in this case is restaurant app folder on the desktop. Select folder. Once you've got your site name, you've directed it to your project. We need to hit save. and all of our files, you can see on the right hand side, are now here. Okay, now that your new jQuery mobile project is set up, it's time to move on to making sure that the project is using the latest versions of all the software that drives it. We're going to start with updating the jQuery mobile. As you can see at the top of the file, we have this line here that calls for a script for jQuery mobile 1.1.min.js. That's the basic jQuery mobile file, and the numbers in there are the version. So we need to make sure that this is actually up to date. So what we've got to do is we've got to go to Google and we've got to look up the latest jQuery mobile, and the top response is download jQuery mobile. We'll go to that because this will tell us the latest stable version. Now at the top of the page we can see latest stable version, it's 1.4.5. We go back to Dreamweaver, we're running 1.0, so we need to update this. So now we go back to the web page and download the zip file that's there. As you can see, I've already done this. Stick it on your desktop, right click on it, extract files, and direct it to your desktop. Make sure that you've got a folder, otherwise it'll wind up all over your desktop. Click OK. Once that's finished, you've now got a folder here that has the latest jQuery mobile. Now we need to get all those jQuery mobile files into our project. So we know where our project is, restaurant app there, and jQuery mobile latest versions here. We need to open up the jQuery mobile latest version, and we need to select everything except for the demos folder. Need to Control C to copy that, go into the restaurant app and create a new folder. Just call it jQuery mobile. Go into that folder and paste everything that we copied before. Going back to the other folder, this demos folder, we don't need it, and if we left it in there, it'd end up making the size of our app a couple of meg larger than it should be, and when we go to the store we want to keep our files as small as possible. Now that we've got these files in there, we need to go back to Dreamweaver and refresh the site files. Now that we've hit refresh, all the files are inside jQuery mobile folder. Earlier when we worked out what version of jQuery mobile we were running, we took a look at this line here with the JavaScript, how it was 1.0. There's actually two lines that link and tell us what it is. And the other one's this CSS file here. What we need to do now is, now that we're updating our files, we need to make sure that both of these links are changed to the latest. So we need to open up this jQuery mobile folder, and we can see we've got the jQuery mobile 1.4.5.css. We need to link to this file. So we click inside the link to the CSS file, and we now need to update where this file actually is. So we'll click on the folder selector, go into the jQuery mobile folder and find the CSS file for it, 1.4.5.css. Click OK, and it now updates that link. and gives us an annoying message. Now that we have the link to the CSS file updated, we now need to get rid of the old file. Like we said before, we want to make sure that our app in the end is as small as possible. So just hop out of Dreamweaver for a moment, go to your restaurant app and find the original CSS file, which was the jQuery mobile 1.0.min. We need to delete that file. Go back to Dreamweaver and refresh the file structure, and you can see it's no longer in the top level of our directory. Now that we have the CSS file updated, we need to go and do the same thing to the JavaScript file, which, as you can remember, is just down here, the jQuery mobile 1.0.min.js. We now need to replace that with the latest one. Unlike when we did the CSS file, where we can click on it and it was down in the properties bar, script tags don't do that down in the properties. So we're going to have to update this manually. So click in before the file name, and we're going to have to manually type in the name of the folder, and then we're going to have to also make sure that we change the rest of the file name to match the actual file name of that we want, which is this jQuery mobile 1.4.5. Just make sure it matches. For everything in here, there's a min and a normal. We actually want the min when we go to production. So once that's updated, you then need to, like we did before with the CSS file, we need to get rid of the original file as well. So we need to go back to the folder, delete the jQuery mobile 1.0.min, get rid of that, back to Dreamweaver, and again refresh the site, and you'll see that that jQuery mobile JavaScript file is no longer there. Now that we've updated the jQuery mobile to the latest, we'll need to make sure that the project's also using the latest jQuery. jQuery mobile relies on jQuery. If it's not up to date, it's not going to work very well. So jQuery is our other file that we have linked to in the head of our document. As we can see here, it's 1.6.4 is what we have. So we need to make sure that's the latest. So we'll minimize Dreamweaver, go back and Google the latest jQuery. Again, it's top result, jQuery.com download. Go to that page. We need to make sure that it's the latest. As you can see, there's a jQuery 2. So we're definitely not up to date because we were on 1.6.4. So we now need to download the compressed version, because we're never going to want to edit it. So we want it to be that minimal file. And we need to just go to where we downloaded it, copy it, Control C, and go back to our project folder and go into the jQuery mobile folder and paste it in there. Go back to Dreamweaver, and again, because it's a script tag, we need to update where it is manually. So we need to change it to jQuery mobile folder, and we need to remember what version we had, 2.2.3. So we change the file name to 2.2.3.min.js, and once we've done that, we need to again remove the old file, which is this jQuery 1.6.4, delete that, back to Dreamweaver and refresh our site, and now the only file we should have in the top level of our directory is the index.html. Save your file, and then as you can see, we're in the browser, and we have what our site now looks like, or our mobile app now looks like. This is what it will look like when it goes either in a browser or on a mobile device. We only have one file left to complete this project setup, and that's the Config.xml file. This jQuery mobile app is going to be built inside of another framework called PhoneGap build. This will make our job easier down the track when it comes to putting out an app onto the phone for testing and for development. Also, if we wanted to make use of some of the more advanced features of a device like a mobile phone or a tablet, PhoneGap build makes this possible. jQuery Mobile is a web app, and as such would not have direct access to things like the telephone and email and that sort of thing. PhoneGap is what makes that possible. We're now going to concentrate on that one last file that is required by PhoneGap build. Otherwise it doesn't know what files, what plugins to pull in and all that sort of thing. So we're going to build the config.xml now. First thing we need to do is go to File, New, and in this document, new document dialog box that comes up, go to XML and hit Create, and now we have a new XML file. We've only got one line in it at the moment, and we need that line, so just hit Enter. And then we need to add a widget tag. I'll go through and explain everything in a minute. We need to close the widget tag. Now this is the basic structure, the start of the config.xml file for PhoneGap. This lets it know that it is a PhoneGap app, this line here. The ID, we need to name it something that's going to be unique to your app. Usually we use a reverse domain name, so all your projects should start with com dot and then put your name in and then the name of the app. If we make sure that we put our name and then the name of the app, we make sure that every app that we build has its own unique ID, and that means that when it goes onto a device, it's not going to cause conflicts with other apps. The next line, version code. It's only for Android, but makes it a lot easier if you do use it. And then you got the version. This line is compulsory for Windows and iOS and Android. For now, we're going to call it 1.1.1, and we're going to use standard software updating protocol, and every time that we make a minor modification, we'll change the last number by 1. Every time we make a major modification, we'll change the middle number, and every time we rebuild the app from scratch, we'll change the first number. This is the industry standard for creating version numbers for apps and all other types of software. Now the widget tag that we already have in here is compulsory, and all other tags that we use in our config.xml must be inside this widget tag. Now for now, we're only going to add another couple of tags. I'm just going to paste them in, but they will be in the start files for you. Now I'll go through and explain each of these tags. preference name equals PhoneGap version. This is compulsory when doing anything with PhoneGap build. It lets PhoneGap build know what version of PhoneGap you want to build. We're going to be working with the latest version, which is 5.2.0. So you need to make sure that this version is in here and include the CLI. Even though technically we're not using the command line interface, it won't recognize if you just put the 5.2.0. The next tag, this is for PhoneGap builds benefit. You need to put the name of your app in there. So when you're in PhoneGap build, you can find your app. And then the description tag. Inside the description tag, describe your app. You don't use HTML in here. Just it will show up in your description however you format it inside of here. So if you hit enter twice, you'll have a gap in between your paragraphs, etc. The only other tag that we need to put in is the author tag. You got the property here to put your website in. If someone has technical issues, they can contact you, along with your email. Put your name and your studio's name, or the school's name, in there, and that's all the tags that we need for now. When you get to the stage of uploading your app to PhoneGap build so that you can test on your device, these tags are used to describe your app inside PhoneGap build, and they can also be used to describe your app when you upload to the store as well. Okay, now all we have to do is hit Control S to save. This file needs to be called Config.xml, can't be called anything else, and it must reside in the top level of your file structure, so with your index.html. So make sure that you're in that folder. You can see the index.html and then hit save. And now your project is ready to move on to the next lesson. Those that are doing the course, you need to submit your finished files to your teacher and move on to the next lesson.